All right, hey, I'm back with another video. Let me get these microphones together. I have two microphones and they're magnetized, so I can't really put them together. But um, I use two because I have a low. I don't have a very loud voice. My voice is very low, just very very low. I don't have a lot of projection. So, and I know that people tell me that all the time in real life. So on camera, I don't know what it sounds like, but I just want to make sure that you can hear me. And I don't have the fancy microphone just yet. I will spend some money on a microphone. But for right now, I just have this. So, in this video, I just want to talk a little bit about my old self. And I to just explain things a little bit. In my last video, I talked about how I came into understanding a little bit more about how your thoughts can create your reality. And I'm going to elaborate on a little bit more of that in a future video. I don't really have much of a plan right now as to how I'm going to organize these videos. I will be organizing them soon. So forgive me if you hear me repeat the same things a lot, but I will be talking more about your thoughts creating your reality. Right now, I want to talk a little bit about how, since I know that now, I've separated my old self and my new self into two different groups. My old self is something that I now know and acknowledge as to being the self that created this mess, but I forgive her. She's forgiven, but she created this mess. And then my new self is the person that I'm not going to say aspire to be, because I am practicing visualization also right now, and I am already claiming things that are in the future to be as of the right now, so that they can go ahead and start making those wheels turn to become a reality for me. So my old self, and then who I am currently. Okay, I'm not going to talk about who I am currently in this video. That will be next video, because I do want to make sure that I work on shortening these videos, because even if I have the best subscribers that really like my content and want to watch all the way to the very end, I do think it's fair to make sure that I keep the video short. For right now, while I'm a new YouTuber and or podcaster, and we can make them longer a little bit later when I have a lot more, people to help me with that sort of thing. But as of right now, I just have myself, and I'm editing this thing. So I just want to make sure I keep it short, and I also want to keep your attention. I want to make sure that you guys watch all the way through to the end, because I do know that that helps me to continue to grow as a channel. And also, if you like it, please make sure that you comment and subscribe, or one or the other. I just want to make sure that I am doing something that you all love, that you think that is beneficial to you or someone that you know. So I want to talk about my old self. I wrote down some things so I can remember. And this was one of the things that I did very early on to, help me to put everything into perspective as to what created this mess in the very first place. So I'm just going to read some of it. In the notes that I created, I just put characteristics of the old Jamie. So one of the things that I put on here was that I was a worrywart, meaning that I worry about everything. I worried about, tomorrow. I worried about my kids if they left the house. I worried about, my job, my money, my family, like my mom, every single thing that I could possibly worry about, I worried about. And not only would I worry, but I would create a scenario. Like, I'll use my kids, for example. I would worry about my children. Like, they leave the house, and they're grown up now. They're older teenagers. So, they leave the house, and I would just think of a situation where, like, oh my gosh, like, if they didn't pick up the phone right away, like, oh my gosh, they must have gotten snatched up and mugged, and their phone is now in the sewer, and like, oh my gosh, what if something happened to them? Like, and a lot of parents do that. We all think about those things, those worst case scenario things, but that is not healthy. So I was a worrywart. I was very, 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 very anxious. It's like, once I really realized that I had anxiety, and ADHD, it's almost like it got worse because, society tells us, like, oh, you need to learn about these things. You need to acknowledge that you have them so that you can get help. And I feel like once I acknowledged it, it just became worse. Like I just played into it a lot more. I just felt more anxious. I just felt more pressure. The ADHD just felt like so excruciating most days. And then I would keep telling myself, oh, I can't get things done because of this ADHD. And I was really just creating more, just that energy. I was just creating more negative energy for myself to continue to be unsuccessful. Severe overthinker. When you're like, I don't even know what the percentages is, but I know that we think a lot throughout the day. Like, and most of our thoughts are negative. So if we have 100% of thoughts in a day, probably 90% of those thoughts are going to be negative. I think I heard that somewhere. Um, that's crazy because if most of our thoughts are negative and you're an overthinker, what do you think is going to happen with your life? And so that's kind of like where I am with it. Like I'm at a point where I'm understanding now that, okay, yeah, I've been thinking all of these things, and I know what I've been thinking. And I've always thought it was okay because I'm like, I'm not suicidal. I love myself. You know what I mean? Like I would never hurt myself. But that doesn't mean that your thoughts aren't negative. That doesn't mean that your thoughts aren't detrimental. And mine's definitely were. Another thing, and this is really, really hard for me to say, is I started to feel hopeless. Oh, Jamie, was that hopelessness was kicking in real, real bad. I started to really become hopeless. And that is hard for me to say because I've always been a very, very positive and optimistic person. Like I could have all of these negative thoughts in my, and I would say for the last 18 or so years, I would be getting just rained on. Just all the things that could possibly happen that was bad was happening. And through all of that, I still was like, but I'm Jamie. And Jamie is a survivor. Jamie is a queen. Jamie is gonna, you're different than everyone you know. You're gonna push through this. It's gonna be fine. And you're gonna be great and you're gonna be successful. It wasn't until maybe a year ago, like right around sometime last year, 2025, it was that I lost it. I lost that hopelessness, and that scared me because I really started to feel like, well, man, maybe it's just not in the cards for me to be successful. Maybe it's not in the cards for me to have the life that I desire. Yeah, maybe that's just not something that's going to happen for me. Um, and then I started to think, well, you're already in your 40s, you know, um, that means that you're not going to have retirement. You're going to be that old lady sitting on the bus bench waiting for the bus with her little bag, uh, cart bag, with no one to help you because you didn't do all the things that you needed to do in your life, in your young life, to make sure that you're good as an older person, as an elderly. And you're going to be on Social Security on top of that because you don't have any money and you never had any money set aside and all these things. Like my literal worst nightmare. And uh because that's not what I want for myself. I want to be, when it's time for me to, retire or be an elderly, I want to be sitting, I don't care if I'm by myself in a big house, watching my shows, with my dog, and just super chilling, peaceful with money in the bank. That's what I want. Being able to travel as well to see my grandbabies and to do all the things. And I lost hope. I started to lose hope last year. I was like, everything I've tried so hard to not be that person, and now I'm that person. And that's another video about how you really, really want something. It doesn't, that energy reverts into you not being that thing or having that thing because you want it to bad. The old Jamie also dwelled on her situation, meaning that along with the hopelessness, I started to feel a huge sense of why me? Like, why me? I used to go to church a lot, and I remember one of the elderlies in the church used to always say something like, "Why not me?" And I think she was referring to, like, if she had pain in her body, or if she had a sickness, or, anything negative going on in her life. And instead of saying, why me? Like, why feel sorry for myself? She would say, why not me? And that used to really hit me, because I'm like, yeah, like, who am I to think that I can, surpass all of these things that other people go through? Like, if I got sick, why not me? Like, well, I, I'm no better than the next person. And I understand that mindset, and I understand where she was coming from. But that, because I took on that mindset as well, that really put me in a bad spot. I started to really think about things like, oh, you're, not making the money that you want to make, or oh, you live in the projects, or oh, you drive a bucket for a car, or you got 4 kids, or like all of these things that I felt was negative. Instead of saying, like, sorry for myself, I would just be like, why not me? Like, these things can happen to me too. Who am I to think that this negative stuff couldn't happen to me when it happens to other people? I'm not better than they are. And the reason that I say that that's not a good mindset to take on is because I'm really learning that we were not put here to suffer. That is not what God intended for us to be. Where he did not want us to suffer. He did not want us to live in poverty. He does not want us to be scraping for pennies, living paycheck to paycheck. Not, he wants us to enjoy life, and he wants us to learn and just absorb, and all those things. He doesn't want us to struggle. And so it is our job, even if that was what we were put here to do, even if that's what we chose for ourselves, we are also meant to learn from that. Like, okay, that can be a certain part of our lives where that's what my phone just overheated. So there was a pause, and now I'm back. So I don't even know what the last thing that I left off on. But I do see that because my phone is overheating, I'm going to have to run through this list fairly quickly, and then I'll only stop when I feel like I want to elaborate a little bit more on a certain topic. Because, like I said, I don't want this to be a long video, and I also don't want me to have any issues recording this video, or it might never get posted. So let me go ahead and run through this list. I think I was just talking a little bit about um, dwelling in my situation, just overthinking, constantly feeling like sorry for myself. Why me? This isn't the life that I wanted for myself. This isn't the life that I chose for myself. What am I doing here? You're such a failure, which leads to the next thing that I'm going to talk about. Says negative things about herself. You're such a failure. You can't complete anything. You never finish anything. You're not smart enough. You're not capable. You don't have the drive, or the motivation, or the willingness that everyone else have. These people over here are able to become nurses, and doctors, and creators, and finish school with degrees because they have the ability to focus. You don't have that. You can't focus, and because you can't focus, you're never going to be able to complete and change your life situation, because it takes focus, it takes drive. You're not a hustler. You don't have a hustle and bone in your body. Those are things that I would say to myself. Like, it's so sad. um Procrastinator. I've always talked about how bad of a procrastinator I was, and I was a procrastinator. Hyperfixates on problems, chronically late, completely unorganized. Never been an organized person whatsoever. Confident in my looks, in my fashion. I always felt completely confident that I can put something together. I can dress anyone. I can make anyone over. Always been really, really confident about those sort of things. But when it comes to my intelligence and my capability and my willingness to finish a job or finish a task, did not have it. I did not believe that I would ever be able to be successful in a career because of those things. So, as sad as that is, like that's what I've been saying to myself. That's what I've been saying to myself for years. And it's really unfortunate because because of that, created a situation for myself, that, like, a hole that I have to dig myself out of almost. And it is important, if you're that person, if you are me, going through any of those things, it is important that you acknowledge that and take accountability. Take accountability with yourself, like, yes, I did do this. In my mind, when I first kind of came across this information and applied it to myself, I was like, it was like an aha moment, like I've been sabotaging my own life. And I said that to myself for a couple of days. And then I had came across a fella saying something along the lines of, like, you have to forgive yourself. Nothing is going to change until you forgive yourself, because God is based on love. God's energy is love. And how can he bless you if you're mad and hating on yourself because of the things that you did not know better that you were doing? I didn't know I was doing that to myself. I didn't know better. And once again, I'm not talking to Jamie, grown Jamie. I'm talking to that little girl Jamie, that does not know any better. She did not know she was doing that to herself. So, of course, I forgive her. We oftentimes forgive everyone else around us, but we have a hard time forgiving ourselves. So, as hard as it was, I had to forgive myself. I did. And now that I've done that, I can start to make room for who I am now and who I'm going to continue to become. So I'm gonna leave off on that on this video. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I'm going to make sure, no matter what the circumstances are this week, I'm going to make sure that I put out 3 videos for you. And to my current subscribers, I only got 3. 3. And then to my new subscribers, thank you. Thank you guys for just listening to my story. And I really, really hope that it resonates, and I hope that it is something that makes sense to you in your life. So anyway, thank you so much, and I will see you on my next video.